Behind the scene with David Bedein, August 19th, 2022. I'd like to recount the incident of a terror attack last Saturday night in Jerusalem at 1:30 in the morning. Jews getting on a bus to go home after davening at the Western Wall, after praying at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. An Arab gets on the bus as the driver was helping an elderly lady on the bus with a walker, and then started firing indiscriminately, hitting 8 people, not killing anyone yet, badly injuring 8 people. One of them a pregnant woman who all week long was struggled with having her baby, did have the baby, a healthy baby, but somehow she made it through. Those are the miracles which characterize Jerusalem. Anyway, the attempted killer, the shooter, well, he was well known, and people knew exactly who he was right away. They searched his home. He wasn't there. He's a resident of the old city of Jerusalem, of the Muslim quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. He disappeared, and in the morning he took a taxi to the police station in central Jerusalem and turned himself in. We know this because the driver that they stopped, he more or less told him what he had done, and the driver spoke with him, and he was very calm and very collected, not filled with hatred or anything like this, just very, very cool, calm, and collected, and gave him a 50 shekel note for a 35 shekel ride. It was a very nice tip. And when he got to the police station, he said what he had done, and that he's turning himself in. He actually left the gun in the back seat of the car, and of the taxi. And when he testified at the police, he said very clearly he had met with the people from the Palestinian Authority to get his fee, his shooting fee. It's unbelievable. There's a fee for shooting Jews. If you want to look at that fee, look at the article on our website, into incentivizing terror, which appears on our website, which recalls the law, the unprecedented law of the Palestinian Authority, that if you kill a Jew, you get a life salary. Now, what's important here is that the next morning he was arrested and all that. Our agency went to work and to see what could happen. We asked the Israel Foreign Minister and the American ambassador if they would demand that the Palestinian Authority revoke its law, unprecedented law, that if you murder a Jew, you get a life sentence. And this is, of course, acts as a motive for a killer. Anyway, so we spoke very nicely with the Israel Foreign Minister on the Prime Minister's office, and with the office of the ambassador to the U.S. The ambassador to the U.S. is important not only because of the American influence, but because 4 of the 8 people that the Arab shot were American citizens. So they both promised to get back to us. The Prime Minister of Israel got back to us with an answer: no comment. The American secretary, the American ambassador got back to us with another answer, which was basically a no comment answer, saying that they denounce terrorism. They don't want anyone to be shooting people up. They don't want anyone to be attacking. At the same time, in answer to my question, a very clear, pointed question, will you ask the Palestinian Authority to revoke its law, its unprecedented law, that if you murder a Jew, you get a salary for life? There was no response. So not from Israel, not from the U.S. was there a response to a reasonable question that if you murder a Jew, you get a life sentence, a life salary, as it is legislated by the PA. And that legislation is not opposed, not by the U.S. and not by Israel. And most people don't know that legislation exists. Well, it's an unprecedented piece of legislation. The Nazis never had it. No one ever had it. But this they have, and they're willing to go along with it in order to preserve the myth of the peace process. Now, the next issue I want to discuss is UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. We're a week after the altercation which occurred in Gaza between August 5th and August 9th, in which 1,050 rockets or missiles were fired from Gaza. Now, 82% of the people who live in Gaza live in the UNRWA facilities, in United Nations refugee camps. Now, if 1,050 missiles were shot from Gaza, there's a good chance that many of them came from the UNRWA facilities. Our agency, the Israel Resource News Agency, working with the Center for Near East Policy Research, we've asked the donor nations, all the donor nations, to check into whether or not the UNRWA schools and UNRWA facilities are right now hosting munitions and guns in their facilities, especially in their schools. We don't get any answer. Now, a prominent diplomat met this week with a very important foreign minister, one of the foreign ministers who funds UNRWA, and I want to read out the 10 issues he brought to his attention. These are 10 issues that anyone can bring to the attention of UNRWA. The reason why the donor nations are important is because Israel gave up its sovereignty in Judea, Samaria, Gaza back in August 1993, and in October 1991, already UNRWA was put under the aegis of the donor nations. They are the ones who have in a sense, a fiduciary responsibility for UNRWA. So let's look at the 10 issues he brought to the attention of a prominent foreign minister, one of the foreign ministers who funds UNRWA, and let's look at them. The 10 issues. Number one, removing UNRWA is not on the agenda. It's part of the UN. You're not going to get rid of it. Number two, removing virulent and violent anti-Semitism from UNRWA is on the agenda. Number three, removing the flagship text taught to all UNRWA pupils, which presents a mass murderer, Dalal al-Mughrabi, as a role model for the children. Number four, removal of the maps in UNRWA schools, which delete Israel, is on the agenda. Number five, conducting inspections of UNRWA facilities for weapons and munitions is on the agenda. Number six, removing hundreds of posters from UNRWA schools which promote the murder of Jews is on the agenda. Number seven, asking for accountability for millions in cash flow to UNRWA is on the agenda. Number eight, removal of the slogan of the right of return by force of arms from UNRWA is on the agenda. Number nine, inspection of UNRWA facilities for narcotics and narcotics trafficking is on the agenda. And number 10, surveying UNRWA facilities for evidence of sex trafficking is on the agenda. Now, these are the 10 issues. You can see them on our website, IsraelBehindTheNews.com. We'll post that today again so free people will see it as a leading item, so you can have a guide to what I said instead of my fast English. These are important issues that, again, we're trying right now to see if we can find any witnesses to the missiles that were fired from the UNRWA camps, from the safe haven of the UNRWA camps. So far, the Israel Defense Forces, which has a whole series of monitoring of UNRWA and of what goes on in the air, has not been willing to give us the information. So we'll see if any volunteers or any eyewitnesses come forward. So this is David Bedein reporting, Behind the Scene with David Bedein. Thank you.